For a growing medium, last year I used vermiculite, otherwise known as perlite. I buy a big sack of whatever I'm growing in my local ag way. I think it's less than $20, and it's probably enough to last 6 years. I keep it in a dry area of my basement. This year, because I wasn't really satisfied with the way they grew in the vermiculite, I bought a sack of Metro Mix 360 growing medium. Note, this is not a planting potting soil. It contains no fertilizers. It's neutral as far as that goes. Designed for professional grower use in a 2.8 cubic foot bag. And when I transplanted from my seedlings into cups this year, I threw a little vermiculite in there just to use it up. When I transplant my seedlings into their individual cups, I just save up solo cups from parties we've had. This was Amanda's cup. Cut a few holes in the bottom, very important, with a pair of scissors or a knife. Without the holes, you don't have good drainage. You drown your tomatoes. I did that a few times. I used the bottom of plastic milk jugs and just cut slits in, and they didn't drain very well last year, and I drowned quite a few of my seedlings. The holes in the bottom are the most important feature of anything you plant tomatoes in. For my seedlings, I bought a whole stack of these containers at a yard sale off an older lady. I think I paid $1 for the whole stack. Got some bigger pots, a few things to go with it. Here's some banana peppers I started. I didn't have room for them upstairs, so they're down in the basement. I have good light coming in for those from the outside. So the first step is putting about 1.5 to 2 inches of the potting medium in one of these with nice holes in the bottom. Again, emphasize holes. The next step is to completely soak the growing medium I get it about as wet as you can, and then leave it sit and let the water run out of the holes in the bottom. I'll be back in probably about 5 minutes. While we're waiting for the excess water to drain out, I'll tell you how I make my tomato seeds and why I plant 2 in each hole. As you can see, I've already planted most of my tomatoes and I have this many seeds left over. And these I made back in 2012. They're a Fireball variety that I picked up. They were 2 years old when I bought them, paid 10 cents for the pack. And now there's probably, 200 seeds in there. The way I make them is I scrape the pulp and the seeds out of a tomato I like. If it's an heirloom variety, if it's a hybrid, you can't do that because they lose their properties and you end up getting something other than what you bargained for. Scrape the pulp out. I put it in this glass right here, nice small glass, juice glass. I fill it up about 3/4 with water. Put a piece of saran wrap over the top, poke a hole in the middle, set it on a kitchen counter until a black moldy scum forms on top of the water. This breakdown period takes the protective coating off the seeds, which allows it to overwinter in the ground. And once that is broken down in the spring, then you're able to get a seedling in 8 to 12 days because it's not waiting for that protective coating to break down, which would take probably months. And then you end up with a late crop and get very discouraged because your seedlings haven't come up. After you get that black scum on the top, I rinse them out in a colander with small holes, like a screen or a very small hole colander, to get all the muck off of them. Then I spread them out on a Corel plate Don't use a paper plate because it'll stick to the paper, a regular ceramic or glass plate. And leave them on the counter to dry. Don't dry them in direct sunlight or anything. And you'll end up with nice seeds. So now we're getting ready to plant. I have to hold the camera in one hand. I take my pencil in wet soil. I make 4 holes the depth of the sharpened part, evenly spaced in the corners. And then I drop 2, because I have a lot, seeds in each hole. I don't know where that one went. There it is there. This works better if you don't have a camera in your hand. I don't care how many I get done in the hole, that's for sure. There's 3 stuck together there, I'll put all 3 of them down in there. Like I said, I have hundreds of them, and it didn't cost me anything. There's 4 of them there. A couple went on the floor. End up being about a 1/4 inch deep. Then I cover the whole thing with a piece of saran wrap. In 8 to 12 days, I'll show you what you get. These are Mr. Stripies. They're a yellow beefsteak with a little bit of red tinge to them, low acid, pretty good sized tomato. I stole these seeds from my neighbor. I also stole Lemon Boy seeds from him. Yellow peach fuzz seeds from another neighbor. They give me a tomato, I give them tomatoes, and then I save their seeds. These are about 2 weeks old. These are fireballs that I started. I always date each one. I started them on 3/15. Today's the 24th. I mark all my plots with a piece of masking tape with the pertinent information on it. And as I mentioned down in the basement, once they get about 4 inches high, transplant them into the leftover party solo cups with the holes in the bottom. I put the roots the whole way down, and then I fill it up with potting medium. Red stuff you see is a little bit of fertilizer. I don't fertilize the plant until after it's transplanted and after it's about 5 inches tall, because they have very tender roots. Fertilizer will burn the roots. I got a little bit anxious and fertilized these too early. They look to me like they're stunted. I've stunted tomatoes before. These are Romas that I planted on February 6th. You can see that some of the ones I planted later than that are much taller, different variety, but still I believe fertilizing too early in any fashion or buying pre-fertilized potting soil will stunt your tomato growth tremendously. The potting medium and the seed itself has enough nutrients to carry the tomato to a good height of 5 inches whenever you're ready to transplant it. And then I'd wait another week before I put any fertilizer on at all, and then very small amounts. This bad boy here is a fireball I planted on January 23rd, 2 months ago, almost to the day. It's 18 inches tall. It'll bear 40 to 60 tomatoes. When I take it outside, and when I plant it, I'll cut them bottom 2 leaves off, put the root in a ditch, an oblong shaped ditch, and bend it up straight about halfway up, and only leaving about 10 inches exposed out of the ground. The entire rest of that plant will turn into root. If you ever had a tomato plant fall to the ground, you'll see wherever it touches, it'll put down roots. This is a cherry tomato from January 16th. You'll never guess where I got the seeds for that. Went to the grocery store one winter, bought some cherry tomatoes for my salad. They tasted pretty good, so I saved the seeds in the method I described earlier. And now I have a lifetime supply of cherry tomato seeds, and they come up. If you leave a few of them on the ground, they'll come up volunteer. Best volunteers ever. I have them growing all through my corn patch, my beans. I'll just go out in the garden wherever I find them. I'll stick a stake next to them, tie them up, and let them go. This is a yellow peach fuzz tomato. Got the seeds from a peach fuzz tomato that the neighbor had. These are the most wonderful salad tomatoes. I don't can with them or make soups out of them. They're about the size of those what they call those little oranges you get in the store. Hold on a second, I asked my wife. Says they're clementines or Heirloom brand oranges. They get about that size, and they are absolutely wonderful to eat raw and for breakfast or whatever. They are. I didn't pay anything for those seeds, and they're pretty prolific too. This is what happens to a tomato plant whenever you transplant it and you find most of the root ball became detached. He's been sick for a good week now, and we'll just see how he fares. Not doing too well today, but hasn't died. He's been sick, like I said, for a week. As far as watering goes, I don't water my tomatoes until they start to droop a little wee bit, and you'll be able to tell when a tomato needs water because these lower leaves will bend down, touch the edge of the cup. The top will start leaning to one side, and that's when they need water. And I would probably estimate 4 tablespoons of water for a cup this size. You may have to do it every day or every other day, but overwatering and a lack of holes in the bottom of your cup, I'll keep saying that every time I have the camera on, will drown your tomatoes. I also planted a variety that I bought at Aldi's a couple years ago called Ace 55 VF. Not really happy with them. They make a nice tomato, but the plants aren't prolific. They're supposed to be disease free. Yeah, they'll get the blight about 2 days after every other one. Everybody gets blight around here in Pennsylvania now. Early blight, late blight, leaf spot, you name it, we get it. So I got to get my crop in early before all the diseases come. Some of these back here are VF55s. Plants do well, but they're not as prolific as the Fireballs, Lemon Boys, Peach Fuzz. I have 4 Rutgers planted and probably about 12 Aromas. Aromas get 60 feet tall, get about 60 fruits off each one. 20 of them will go green in the fall and the plant dies. A lot of people like green tomatoes. I haven't found a real good use for them yet. Not a big fan. This is why I put the saran wrap on top of my seedlings when I'm starting them. The moisture gathers on the saran wrap, goes back into the soil. I don't have to come back every day making sure that the corners that I have seeds in are damp. It just stays damp. We dampened it real good to start. It stays damp. I'll check it every day and look for a sprout to come up, and when I see the first sprout, I'll pull the saran wrap off. You go to the store, you like the pepper, save the pepper seeds. Let them dry on the stem, on the counter. Peel them off, plant them after they're dried. Every seed has to go through a cycle of drying to make everything work. You can't put a wet seed in the ground and expect it to sprout. Fresh seed, as they would say. I save seeds from everything. That's pumpkins from my grandkids' pumpkin, Halloween pumpkin 2 years ago. Several kinds of tomatoes, cilantro, green beans. Just let them mature right on the vine. These are Burpee's Garden Bean. I saved the bag so I knew what a variety it was, but all those, I just picked the largest, toughest beans, set them out on a picnic table to dry. Those all make brand new beans. Oregano, 3 kinds of basil, peace plant peas, dill. I don't have to plant dill anymore. I give away dill seeds. I let them go to head and they fall in the garden. I know what a dill plant looks like when it comes up, and I just let it grow wild. It grows wild year after year after year. And if you watch my pickle videos, you'll see I use quite a bit of it. We use it on salads too. Italian greens, they're all still in the chaff, so I don't try and pick them out of the chaff. I just plant the chaff. I figure the seeds are in there. I trust it. Radishes, boy, are they fun. You just let 1 or 2 radishes go to seed. They get huge. The radishes get the size of an apple, and the plant can string out about 4 feet. And then when they go to seed, you have all the radish seeds you're ever going to need. There's radishes from another year. Banana peppers, hot ones. Get them right out of the banana pepper, dry them on a Corral plate, save them for next year. There's squash in here, 3 kinds of squash. All you got to do, cucumber, 2 kinds of cucumbers, purpless and straight 8s. Make them pickles with. Make a lot of pickles. Save your seeds, folks. Buy something at the grocery store, you like it, scrape the seeds out, dry them out, plant them in your garden. Whole sacks of basil seeds, 3 different kinds. Even a lemon basil, it's good on fish. I'll start a few cucumber seeds in the house. I'll start a pumpkin in the house. I'll start maybe 1 or 2 squash and a watermelon in the house. The rest of the seeds I'll plant directly in the soil. I just like to get a head start on a few. I usually stay away from anything marked Miracle-Gro, but I bought this years ago. It's lasted me many years, and because I use so little of it. I use regular fertilizer somewhat in the garden, but as far as seedlings go, they just don't need it. Not until they're, like I said, 5, 6, 8 inches tall. To sum up, don't use potting soil. Don't use plant soil that contains fertilizers. Just use vermiculite or a planting medium like that. It's more of a peat moss product, not made from peat, but it's pretty similar. Or peat moss. A lot of people swear by that. Everybody swears by something. Vermiculite, peat moss. I don't use those stupid peat pots. I cannot control the moisture in those. I end up overwatering or underwatering, and you have to pay for them. I have seen no advantage to those at all. I used them 1 year. I wasn't satisfied. A lot of trial and error went into the way I do things. The solo cups are brand new this year, and they're really working out great. We had a bunch left over. You end up with 3 or 4 in a pack. And wife likes matching cups when she has a party, so end up not getting used. Well, they're getting used now. My buddy in Vermont told me how he does his and has good luck, so here comes the solo cups. Don't overwater. Wait till they start to droop a little bit before giving them more water. Same when up there in your garden. You don't want to water them if they don't need it. Tomatoes don't like wet feet. They need ample water, but they don't like to be overly wet. I have garden videos, corn, tomatoes. See my whole garden from last year on YouTube under my channel, 69 Harley. And you probably enjoy those too if you like gardening. Pretty proud of what I did last year, where I put my rabbit fence up, my deer fence, because I do get attacked. But here's the start of my garden for this year. I have good light in this corner. Plants demand good light. Also, I have an auxiliary lamp for cloudy days. Doesn't burn much electric. It's a 200 watt equivalent CFL bulb. So I hope you enjoyed the way I do tomatoes, and I hope you enjoy fruits of your labor in your garden. As I mentioned earlier, it's March 24th. This is what my garden looks like today. This fence is where I put my tomatoes. I have plans on replacing the posts this year. They don't hold up in the wind. They start sagging. So I'm going to put iron posts in. My brother-in-law is going to give me. This is All tomatoes go up this fence here. I'll put about 36 plants along there. I have it all bed down right now with leaves. All those leaves will get turned into the soil either along the fence there or in my main garden. This is the main garden. Lettuce, onions. We did broccoli this year. Don't know if I'll do it again. Peppers, basils, Italian greens, corn, and way out on in there are potatoes. First time I planted them, they did really good. But potatoes, redskins. The only thing I don't like about those are the eyes are real deep. And you're always cutting out eyes when you're peeling your potatoes, and it's hard to even get the dirt out of them, for crying out loud. I like a lot of organic material down in my soil. That's why I have a lot of trees. And when I rake up, I don't use any oak leaves because they're acid, but maple leaves, magnolia trees, all those leaves will get turned in. I spade it all by hand. I'll empty out about a 4-foot section. My topsoil is only 7 inches deep. I get on into clay and sand whenever I get this real bad, nasty stuff under there. So I'll empty out a tabletop size area, put my organic materials down, a little bit of 10-15-10 or 5-10-5, and some ashes from where I burn my tree trimmings, and mix that all into the soil and grow food for the deer. There's deer droppings, rabbit droppings. That's why I put up the fences. That's rabbit fence. Those tall poles get a netting put on them for the deer, goes the whole way around the garden. Plant my squash over there. This is a garlic patch that I started last fall for the first time growing garlic. There's 3 kinds there. I know a garlic guy, believe it or not. They raise about 16 different varieties: Hungarian, Siberian, East German. They got all kinds. He gave me a couple. I already forgot what they were. And regular store-bought, direct from China garlic, where you get 3 bulbs for 99 cents. I just threw them in the ground. They're doing real well. And a few days ago I planted some yellow onion sets. That screen is to protect the deer from walking through there. The day after I dug this dirt up, I had deer tracks. You can see some over there at the top of the frame right there, deer tracks. They had to come up here and put that screen on. And I'll take that screen, put it on my cucumber patch. I grow my cucumbers outside the garden. This is about the size of a card table and a half. I'll get, 100 cucumbers off of there. I'll plant the straight 8s on one side and the purples on the other. There'll be about 20 plants. I'll put that screen over top of there. I'll grow up through it. That keeps the cucumbers hanging in the air, and that way the worms don't get on them. First time I planted cucumbers, I let them lay on the ground. I didn't know any better. And the worms just striped the skin right off of them. They didn't go into the cucumber, but man, they were ugly. Then I'll pull a few political signs off the road after the election and take those little wire frames and put them around the outside of that. And I made a teepee out of 3 sticks. And I'll run fishing line back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and make a nice place for the cucumbers to hang from. It's going to be great. I have about 85 videos on YouTube. Several of them are from my garden last year. So if you want to see how this is going to look come June or July, you're welcome to go visit those videos and see what kind of gardener I am.